We are recording. One second, y'all. Let's see. How is this not? I got so much stuff open. Yeah, I'm not sure why she can't get in. She keep messaging me saying she can't get in. I don't know why she can't get in because everyone else was able to get in. So it's just weird to me. Okay, so oh, here she go. You made it. Tiffany. I was like, why can't she not get in here? I'm like, what is going on? So guys, I started recording and I'm trying to get my screen to share to start on NACA stuff. Okay. I'm trying to open this up. So I'm gonna have to be peeking in so I can see if anyone else is trying to join. But can you guys see my screen? You can come off mute and just say yes, you see the screen, type in the chat.
Yes.
You can see it, okay. All right, so just by show of hands, I just wanna know like how deep I need to go into the background. I mean, I'm gonna go over everything probably mostly anyway, but she was trying to get admitted. Give me 1 second again, y'all, because I'm not gonna see them while I'm sharing my screen.
That's me, Taneeka. I'm trying to get back in. I went on the computer so I can see the screens.
Are you on the screen? Okay, are you back in now?
No.
So let me, okay, give me a second.
I'm sorry, y'all.
No, you good. No, you good. All right.
All right, I'm in.
Maybe I should take, well, no, I didn't want that off. All right, y'all. We're going to get this together over here. And excuse, all right, so there we go. Hopefully, I'm trying to see if there's any. All right. Yep. And just keep muted. Unless you, like I said, if you have a question, just come off mute. If you do type something in the chat, I may or may not see it because I'm sharing my screen. So feel free to come off mute if you have any questions. Okay. So just real quickly, for those who don't know, like NACA is like I said, it's another like homeownership type program. It's a conventional loan product that's really beneficial and it has a lot of benefits. And I'm gonna be upfront, it does have a lot of cons as well, and I'll touch on those cons, but the benefits outweigh the cons, right? And again, everything that I'm showing y'all on this screen, I'm going to give you the links and stuff for as well via email. So don't feel like you have to try to like write everything down. So just like real quick, again, all this I pulled right from their website. They've been around for 25 years. And they do like a lot of housing work as well for affordable home ownership, because clearly, you know, it's kind of a racial issue as well, that, you know, minorities tend to, when it comes to home ownership, we tend to be in the minority in that as well. So for a lot of different reasons. So this how one of the reasons kind of why NACA kind of came along. So again, they kind of help with predatory lending. They have 40 offices. One of them is in Baltimore. So their office for us is right in downtown Baltimore. They have a ton of money and they get like a ton of money every few years or so. As you can see currently right now, they have like $13 billion committed from Bank of America. Bank of America, I mean, CT is on here, but Bank of America is really going to be who, if you was to go through NACA, like Bank of America is who 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10 is who your loan is going to be with. So here's some of those benefits that I was talking about again. Again, they call themselves the best mortgage in America. So there's no down payment requirement. There's no closing costs, no points of fees, no income maximum or minimum. That's a huge misconception. I literally just had that conversation with someone today who thought NACA was for low to moderate income buyers, and that is not true. Anyone from any income level can purchase this NACA. There's no credit score requirement. No perfect score needed, and there's no PMI, right? So no private mortgage insurance. That's a huge one, as that can save you like hundreds of dollars, on your mortgage payment, which means you could afford more house, right? If you don't have to spend $200 or $300 on private mortgage insurance. So that's a good one. So there's like no cost or fees, right? So if you go through NACA, this is pretty much showing you, where it says lender pays, this is all the things that they pay for you, or assist you with. And then on the other side, again, they don't have some of the same traditional fees as a traditional lender would have. So again, you're kind of saving there as well. So the rate fluctuates. I was going to Google what the rate was. I mean, I don't know what the rate is now. The last time I checked, their rate was at 4%, which is, I guess you could say, is still kind of low for this market when, most other places is 5% and up. But traditionally speaking, before this like market shift, like NACA like had the best rate, like hands down. And I think 4% is still good. The rate changes daily. Which is why they have the website here. So they just kind of just tell you to just check the rate, because at the time of when you're going through the process and you're getting approved and you're signing your paperwork, like whatever that daily rate is before you lock in, like that's going to be your rate while you do your housing search. So it changes daily. So the interest rate buy down. So this is one of the things that I personally myself, like, I think Tiffany on the call, she took advantage of this as well, right? The NACA interest rate buy down. 1 second. Make sure no one's getting it. Okay. So I feel like with most lenders, you have the opportunity to buy your rate down. However, with NACA, NACA allows you to buy your interest rate down more aggressively than a traditional lender will, right? So it's, and we'll touch on that a little bit, but you have the opportunity to buy down. Like, for example, I have a friend who, with the assistance of the seller and some money that she had, she was able to buy just last summer, and she brought her rate down all the way to like, I think it was like 1.67, right? Unheard of. So, and she was able to do that definitely at a lower cost had she went with a traditional lender. Okay, so here's more details of how the rate works. So let's say for most of us, we'll probably be looking at a 30-year mortgage. So what this is saying that for every 1% of the loan that you put down to buy your rate, kind of reduces your interest rate by 0.25%, right? And 15-year mortgage, it would be the same thing, but just you would be reducing your rate by 0.15%, right? I'm not the mathematician, Tiffany on the call is, but essentially, depending on what you're looking at as far as your cost and what you're trying to do, even if you was to put down like $5,000 to $7,000, if you chose to buy down your interest rate, that would save you a whole lot of money. Now, because I went through the slides already, this is not on here. But when you guys, if you on the call and you actually want to give NACA a go, just to give you a heads up, they're going to break it down for you, because a lot of people have questions about, is it beneficial to buy down your interest rate versus doing a traditional down payment? And it's going to depend on you. Like, if you know that home that you're about to get, it's going to be your forever home, or you plan on staying in that home for over 5 years or so, then buying down the interest rate would probably make sense, right? Because you're like lowering down your payments over the course of the loan, over the 30 years. So you're eventually, you're saving money on interest over time. But if you're not planning to stay in that home for longer than 5 years, then it's probably not going to make the best sense for you to buy down your interest rate. And they'll probably want to tell you to just go ahead and do a down payment to knock down that principal if you have the extra funding for whatever reason. Okay. Any questions on that? I know I talk real fast sometimes, guys. So again, we kind of touched on this a little bit. They do 15-year mortgages.
Hello?
Yes.
I'm sorry, continue.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's 15-year mortgage. So again, like I said, with the 15-year mortgage, I mean, I guess they want to highlight this, like, yeah, you get like, you can do twice the buy down, you generate wealth quickly, you get a lower interest rate. Again, downside, high mortgage payment. So if you're already kind of like at the top of your affordability, you're probably really not going to want to do, a 15-year mortgage, unless you plan to aggressively, be able to pay that home off in the 15 years. I personally wouldn't do that one, but to each their own. So with NACA, these are the type of homes you could purchase, right? So you can do a single family, condo, you can do mixed use, multi-family, co-op, and a purchase rehab. Yeah, so that's pretty much the only thing you can do. What you can do with NACA, and it takes a lot of work around, because people ask us sometimes too, like, can you use NACA to like go and purchase land and build a house? Like, you can't use NACA for that, but you would have to get like another separate loan to like buy the land and then like use NACA to build the house on the land that you got with another loan, if that makes sense. Okay. And another important part too is that NACA is not for investors. So they will have in a clause that you must occupy the home. It must be your primary residence. Like, you can't, go through the process, get all these great benefits, and then flip the house and rent it out. You are supposed to live in a house. Okay. I kind of touched on this a little bit. I said there's no limits on the member's income. So do not let anybody tell you that NACA is for low income people. It's not the case. Okay, let's see. Okay, so here we're talking about real estate agents. So because NACA is like its own island, you have multiple options. Like, once you get to the part of where you're like actually qualified and you're doing your housing search, you have several different options when it comes to a NACA realtor, right? So one, you can do an outside real estate agent. That's somebody who, you may know personally, who may not be affiliated with NACA. But those are, that's what they consider outside agent. NACA referral real estate agent, it may be someone that's not employed by them, but it may be someone that they recommend who has took their training and knows about the NACA program, right? Because NACA will train your preferred realtor. They have trainings every Tuesday, I believe. Yep, right there. See, I didn't even read that. Yep. So every Tuesday they do trainings for realtors who want to know more about their program, right? 3 is a NACA in-house realtor. So those are realtors who actually are employed by NACA full time. This is what they do. So of course, in theory, they should know what they're talking about, right? And then, yeah, okay. So this is just a definition of the different agents, and I just gave you all a short version of that. My recommendation would be either do 2 or 3, right? Even if you're not using a NACA in-house real estate agent, you definitely at least want to have a realtor that at least knows about the program. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like for people who have a voucher, right? You want a real estate agent or landlord, preferably, that knows about your Section 8 program or your voucher program. You don't want someone that's like completely new, messing up your RTA, messing up your paperwork, don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean? So and just in my experience in following NACA, people who tend to go with outside realtors tend to just not be as successful as those who either go with someone who took a NACA training or with a NACA full-time employee. Okay, so there's more stuff about agents. I'm going to just get to the good stuff for you guys. Okay, so let's talk about, so again, this is stuff that you guys kind of really don't need to know about right now. I was talking about your property qualification letter. You know, once you find a house, you got to get this from your realtor and your mortgage counselor to, it's kind of just, it's like just like a letter, just has all your numbers, you know, on it to make sure you can actually qualify for that home and actually afford that home. Okay. Hand repairs. So this is just a little bit about if you did find a home that need repairs, NACA does allow for that as well. And they do have additional funding and stuff too. If you did have a home that needed some repairs, it needs to be inspected. Okay. Okay, so this is again just giving kind of a timetable. So from your contract to closing. So with this, I'm just going to summarize up this. It's like your contract to closing time and all that. A lot of this is going to depend on your realtor, you know, the bank, you know, again, if you have a new construction property, it's going to depend on that. But first and foremost, your time to closing and stuff is going to also depend on you, you know, as, you know, the client, you know, making sure you're uploading all your stuff into your file, making sure your housing counselor and your mortgage broker, they have everything that they need, you know, to be able to process you and get you to underwriting, right? So all of that stuff is very timely and very important. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, again, trying to get folks prepared for this Achieve the Dream event that's happening in September, right? All right, so these are the main numbers. You guys can screenshot this if you want, but we do have local numbers for Baltimore. So this was the first presentation. Did anyone have questions about this? Kind of was a high over level. I'm getting ready to go into a little bit more details on the actual requirements to qualify for a NACA mortgage. But
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask, the actual requirements for the NACA mortgage.
Yep. Okay.
And can self-employed people also get a NACA mortgage?
Yes, absolutely. So with self-employed, including myself too, right? Because I mean, I still work full time, but then I started an LLC, and it's NACA is just like any other traditional lender. If you are self-employed, you know, you just have to have 2 years of tax returns for them to be able to take the average of and estimate your income, right? So that's going to be, and I think with any lender, I'm like, that's going to be really important when it comes to when you're filing your taxes and choosing what deductions and things you're going to be writing off. You definitely want to do tax planning with a tax professional.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, because obviously the more stuff you write off, the less it's going to lessen your income and stuff. So.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But before you go any further though, like how, like, do these apply to houses that are like 25K and under, or like you see what I'm saying?
No. So yeah, so I'm gonna touch on that next part. So NACA, it goes by the region, right? So I think each region, and by each region, so they do it by the census tract level, or we can just say for like, let's say county or local cities or whatever. Each county has its own you know, its own like max price. Like for example, and I'll send y'all because NACA has an official Facebook group for those who are not in it. But say for example, if you live in California, it's people over there in California getting approved for $700,000 to $800,000 houses, right? Because, and for us, that's like ridiculous, but that's like the average cost of living over there.
Over where?
In California.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So now in Maryland, I will say, I think for us, I think the max price, again, depending on where you are, but I'm just gonna say the max just overall is about 454. I'll say about 460. So 460, you know, 460K.
Right. But can you get to the part where like, what do you need right away?
Yeah, so that's what we ready to get into. So I wanted to just give like a brief overview for people who never heard about NACA and kind of give some background on the benefits. And now we're going to get to the juicy part, right?
Okay.
So before we're all done, you're going to know what you need to do right away, right? You're also going to have the links and stuff to actually register for the Achieve the Dream event, because that's the most important part. I'm also going to give you guys, I have put it on the Eventbrite, but I'll send it to you in email too. I'm also going to send you the actual qualification workbook. That is
Yes.
your Bible, right? You want to
Right. That's what I'm looking for, the Bible.
yes, like print that thing out. Y'all mean how many times? I mean, I could live legitly, I could really work for NACA if I wanted to. I'm like, listen, that is your Bible. Like 10 times out of 10, the questions people ask in these groups is right there in the book. And I'll be going to them like, well, that's talked about on page 45 or 25 or whatever the page number is. Like, go there, print that thing out, highlight, do what you need to do. And like I said, once you go and you keep your file together, you'll be good. Like you'll get qualified at intake. Most of the stories that I hear about, either people didn't have their files together. Sometimes like NACA do have a high turnover rate just because it's a huge nonprofit. Staff is overworked. They have a huge caseload. However, now that COVID is kind of calming down a little bit and they're starting to do the all-in-one events, like this is where you can really get qualified at. Okay.
Right. But you need a job that shows, long story short, you have to be paying taxes.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because if it's not on paper, it don't matter. Right.
Okay. So basically what I'm saying, like, can you come to them with a down payment, like a large down payment, but just, you see what I'm saying?
Come to who? Come to NACA with a large down payment?
Yeah.
So you can do a down payment if that's what you choose to do. It's not required though.
No, what I'm saying, but does that boost your chances of acceptance?
Oh, absolutely not. Everyone still has to go through the same thing. If you're self-employed, it's 2 years of tax return. If you have a regular job, it's still 2 years. You have to have like 2 years of no, I think it's either 1 or 2 years of consistent full-time employment. If it's part-time, if you have part-time income that you want NACA to count, that has to be 2 years if you want them to count it. So to answer your question is, hey, like if I don't have 2 years, but if I have a huge down payment, will that make up for me not having 2 years of tax returns? The answer is no. They're going to still require you to file. Okay. Now let's just say your business has been established, but you didn't file taxes in a couple of years. You could go and run and have somebody file your taxes for those previous 2 years, and you would have met that requirement. But if you're just kind of just starting out and your income,
okay, that's what I was looking for. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. So you can just go like file your back taxes, and get. But the thing about it is though, if you're doing it that way with NACA though, if you do have back taxes, you have to be on a payment plan. And your current year, so you file for the current year, your current year have taxes would have to be paid in full, but the previous years can be on a payment plan.
Right, but
got it. Okay.
How much does that? Long story short, like where does that put you on the sliding scale of what house you can get, what they're going to give you, you see what I'm saying?
That's going to depend on your income. So I personally couldn't answer that for you. That's going to depend on the income your business generated, and it's going to also depend on your debt. That's on your credit report. So I couldn't answer that for you. That's a question.
Okay, so this program is basically for what you can afford.
Well, all programs are what you can afford. Like no bank after 2008 should be giving people mortgages that they can't afford. Every bank, and I have a ton of relatives and lenders on my Facebook page. Every bank is looking at your debt to income ratio.
Right, your DTI.
Yeah. So now, what I will say though is NACA is a little bit, because they're more so focused on making sure you can afford your home. They are a little bit more strict when it comes to your debt to income ratio, right? So where you can go to, if you could go to another lender, like say FHA or something like that, and maybe Mega can jump in, they may let you go up to 40 or 50%, DTI. NACA is really, we follow HUD. Well, they follow, I'm like, I work there. They follow HUD, and they're, for the most part, they don't want you really spending over 31% of your gross income, but you can go up past that depending on what your debts are. So for a lot of people that I've talked to, they'll come back and they're just like, oh, they told me I need to pay down some debt, or maybe I need to buy down my interest rate because, I have a lot of debt and I'm not really getting the affordability number that I want to get to go purchase. So it's a lot of wiggle room when you playing with the numbers. You either going to pay down your debt or you're going to buy down your interest rate. It's just going to depend on what makes sense for you. Okay.
Can you 1031 exchange after you pay down your debt or your interest rate if you're in good standings in the NACA program?
Say that again.
Can you do a 1031 exchange if you're in the NACA program? You stayed in that house, is your personal home, and you just wanted to upgrade. Could you use the NACA program or a private lender to 1031 exchange the original NACA mortgage loan?
So are you asking about refinancing the loan?
1031 exchange is more so like, it's not refinance. It's kind of like swap. It's kind of like plug and play. You just swapping out one house for another house. But the only reason why a person would do that, because most people love their home if they want to go buy it. Like if they're mortgaging their home, they love their home. Most time a person would do that is as if like they want to upgrade the house. Okay, now I want a house with an in-ground pool. Okay, now I want a house with cathedral ceilings, or now I want a house with 8 bedrooms. I got a bigger family. Well, I'm moving my in-laws in. So then instead of selling the house you're in and getting slapped in the face with an Uncle Sam capital gains tax, you would 1031 exchange it to exclude yourself from all that capital gains tax and roll all that over into the new house. Use your tax elections to do 121 exclusions. Hopefully you're married before you do it. If you're not, so what? You get 250 of money that you get to offset and put towards a new house. Can you do a 1031 exchange with a NACA program? Long story short, yes. Yes or no?
Long story short, I've never heard of it. Again, I'm not a NACA employee though, so don't quote me on. That's why I put a disclaimer. This is just for informational purposes only. But let's just say in the 7-8 years I've been following them and sending people to them, I've never heard of that.
A 1031 exchange?
Well, not that I never heard of 1031. Well, I never heard that term, but I heard of what you mentioned before. I just never knew the term. But I'm talking about as far as I'm saying as far as NACA, I never heard of anyone doing it with NACA. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Well, NACA is new, right?
Huh?
NACA is new, correct?
No, NACA been out for over 25 years. So NACA is not new. But again, I think they have a lot of restrictions with certain things that you can do. Like as far as renting, like you couldn't rent it out and things of that nature. Like they kind of do put like a lot of stipulations on that mortgage to kind of prevent people from like flipping it and turning it kind of into an investment.
Right.
So yeah, so I would just venture out to say no, but if anyone was interested in doing that, they would need to obviously consult with their counselor. I would say, let's just say worst case scenario, if that's something you want to do, then maybe they could probably look at refinancing out of the NACA mortgage for the same home, because you can do that. You can refinance out of that mortgage for the NACA home, and then once you're out of that NACA mortgage, you can do whatever you want to do with it. If you want to rent it out, 3031 exchange, if that's something you want to do with that new lender, then that's something that you can do. But I just don't know if you could do that under the NACA mortgage. You might need to refinance out of that first.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, they're a little kind of strict in your business. And then I see Nicole has her hand up as well. Nicole, you have a question?
Yes, I had a question about the employment guidelines or qualifications. So when you say 12 months or 24 months of consecutive employment, like in my case, I left one organization and then I went to another, but then went right back. So never did the employment stop, but I switched roles.
Yeah, well, that is fine. So it'll actually say that when you guys have a chance to look at the qualification book, as long as it's not a huge gap in employment, and I believe they define a huge gap is like 30 days. It's really technically not a huge gap, but with COVID, I feel like they are maybe giving a little bit of leeway. Again, that's something you want to talk to with your counselor about. But let's just say if you're just changing jobs and it's in the same industry, or you're getting promoted to another higher position for higher money, then that wouldn't apply to you. This is for people that maybe kind of had like stop and go employment of like 3 months gaps or longer. You know what I mean? Then with that, again, with COVID, they are kind of giving some little bit of wiggle room, but again, traditionally speaking, if you had like a huge gap of employment for several months at a time, then that would kind of be like restarting your clock over, if that makes sense. But in your case, it just sounds like, okay, thank you, Tiffany. Yeah, so it sounds like in your case that you just kind of changed employers or got a promotion, so you should be fine.
Yes. Okay. All right. Thank
You're
you.
good. And thank you, Tiffany, for answering questions in the chat, because I cannot see the chat. So guys, Tiffany, and I'll let her share her story at the end if she doesn't mind, but she actually qualified with NACA on her own and using her housing voucher as well, and has a whole new bill. And I'm like, girl, I'm trying to live through you. So
Right, though.
you know, so a nice big old house in Georgia. Okay, and I see someone put the link to the purchase book there on the website. Thank you, Danielle. All right.
Can I ask a question though, real quick?
Yeah.
Does a housing voucher come through HUD or Section 8?
You realize HUD and Section 8 is the same thing. So that, you know, it's like tomato. But technically speaking, HUD. Section 8 is a program of HUD.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
See, I'm not on none of that stuff, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. Good question. I'm glad you asked, not assume. But yeah, they're like all this kind of the same thing. Yep. All right, let me close this. I'm trying to close.
No, but still, but like I be hearing some people when they on Section 8, they out here, they got rent super cheap or no rent. But HUD out here is just like a large portion, but you still got a portion to pay. But HUD give you a better address and so on. Section 8 give you like crack houses and stuff like that.
That's what they told you. Well, first of all, those are stereotypes, okay? Like that is not. So what you're probably referring to, first of all, let me just say that as someone who worked, you know, and saw people income, I done seen clients tenant portion probably more than some mortgages. So don't sleep and think of everybody paying $5 rent. That is not
okay.
With
with
HUD, the whole household income counts. So if you got 10 people in there getting SSI, everyone's income is counting, whatever the case may be. 31% of their income is getting counted towards that tenant portion. But to your question though, I think you're mixing up, or you're trying to ask about tenant-based voucher or tenant-based housing versus project-based housing. It's a difference. So project-based housing for my Baltimoreans would be like, okay, your Pole homes, your Murphy homes, your Lexington, your Cherry Hill, that type of stuff. That's project-based housing, right? You apply, you get in, you're in that unit for the rest of your doggone life, unless you get transferred to another project house unit.
Right, that's what I was trying to escape from. Not trying to apply, then get stuck in the for the rest of my life.
And so tenant-based is where the voucher comes in. Tenant-based families are given a voucher and they get to rent from a private landlord. Both have their pros and cons though. But yeah, so tenant-based is a private landlord and you get to kind of go out and you can rent from there with the private landlord. So that's the difference between, but the correct terms is tenant-based and project-based, not Section 8 HUD.
So do I have to apply through HUD or can I apply through NACA and just, you see what I'm saying?
So NACA doesn't have anything to do with you applying for a voucher. They just work with the voucher program. If you already had one, they wanted to use it to purchase.
Would NACA push me through the voucher program?
Absolutely not. They don't have anything to do with NACA. If you want to, first of all, let me just say this. You're in Maryland. There's no wait list even open anyway. And if you was to apply, let's just say if one was open, it would probably take you at least 7 to 8, 9, probably 10 years to even get called. Like that's how long the wait list is to even get a voucher, right?
Right.
So let's just say hypothetically, if you was able to get one, you would need to apply to the county that you live in. You would apply, go through that whole process, get your voucher. And then you could use that voucher, but when you get that voucher and then you have to go through your housing place, you have to go through their homeownership program. And then once you get the homeownership voucher, then you can use that to come out and then purchase a home. Like it's a whole process. It's
right,
not,
I get it. But so no, so I'm better off just going through NACA then.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Especially if you don't already have a voucher and stuff already. It's
because I thought this was a program that gets you in the voucher program, then use the voucher program and then to help you. I didn't know.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, they're separate entities. They're just, well, most lenders honestly will work with a voucher. Some of them, you know, they may be a little bit iffy, but again, since NACA is all about, you know, affordable homeownership and helping people, they actually promote it on their website. And I have the Section 8 workbook as well. I have the link for that. And like I said, they just work with people who have a voucher. They don't help you get a voucher. Okay.
Right. Okay.
All right.
I see what you're saying.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, I had a question. Just quick question. So I heard that you were explaining like the difference between like having a Section 8 voucher through the Housing Choice Voucher program versus, well, you didn't really touch on this, but versus like BRHP. So and I'm actually a homeownership program assistant. I run the program through Section 8, the homeownership program, right? But I'm new, so this is really informative to me. But what's the difference? Like, we have a homeownership program, but does BRHP, when you look on there, they don't have a homeownership program. So how do you use that voucher?
So BRHP does not have a homeownership program, unfortunately, and Megan can attest to this. We ended up, well, first of all, let's just say BRHP is really not we're not a PHA, and I'm saying we, like I still work there, right? We're not a PHA, it's a nonprofit organization. So BRHP, that program came about from a lawsuit from suing HABC in Baltimore City, right? So as part of that lawsuit, we got a certain number of rental vouchers, you know, and then we also got a set amount of homeownership vouchers. Once those homeownership vouchers were exhausted, they just never extended the program for whatever reason. So we haven't had homeownership vouchers, at least to my knowledge, since like 2012. So it's been over 10 years. Like the program has been, it's been discontinued for a number of reasons I don't want to get into when I record a call. But from what my understanding, that there are talks of bringing it back. You know, you just have to, you know, because a lot of clients are inquiring about it. So we'll see if they bring it back, if they do that whole setup and try to get it up and running again, but we'll see. But to your question, for clients who have a BRHP voucher, it would be the same way for clients who lived in a PHA, in another PHA district that didn't participate. They would need to port their voucher to a region that does participate, and then go through that region's homeownership program to be able to buy, which is annoying, right? I just wish they just get it. So,
so you would have to like port to like Baltimore County and then get in there.
Yes, which really is annoying because, like, for example, with BRHP, it's a regional voucher, right?
Right.
Well, already be living there, and you like, well, how am I put my voucher? So it's like a whole mess, you know, like trying to figure out and wiggle things around. But it's a whole mess, and hopefully, I'm hoping that they do bring it back. You know, I left there like 2 years ago, and I know it was like whispers of it, but like we'll see, because it just doesn't make sense. But short answer to the story, they would have to port it to that region. But so Baltimore City and Baltimore County has it. Howard County has their own program, Anne Arundel County, and I think Megan's ready to come. But Megan can talk about this as well because she knows all about this. But yeah, but everyone.
I actually was only going to say, like, I think BRHP is operating or beginning to operate a self-sufficiency program. My understanding is that they will be operating an option of home ownership through that program.
Okay.
So,
okay.
I mean, and to what you mentioned about transferring the voucher to another PHA, most PHAs do offer the home ownership option either through the HGV home ownership program or through their family self-sufficiency program.
Yes.
So it can look two different ways if you're transferring your voucher to another public housing authority.
Well, I'm excited to hear, and I remember hearing about it too, but you know, it's been a while, so I'm excited because I know a lot of clients do acts, and you know, it's especially for us. We're already, you know, BRHP people, they're already living out in some of these areas, so it just doesn't make sense to have to port. But that's exciting to hear. Nicole, was you done? Was that just?
So I guess so to date, like, do you know anybody who has successfully purchased through NACA who have a BRHP voucher?
Well, no, because again, when I say we only got a number of, when I say a number, I meant like we had like less than 20 homeownership vouchers, and a lot of those were unsuccessful from my knowledge, meaning that people was losing their homes. So using a BRHP voucher to purchase through NACA, no. But again, if you have a BRHP voucher, don't mean you can't be the first, because Tiffany is actually the first, and she's on the call. She's the first in her PHA to combine the two successfully. So just because you might be the first don't mean it can't happen, right? I just think for BRHP, like it was literally like 10 vouchers, and then the rest was, the rest was rentals. So, but I'm excited to hear they're going to bring it back again though. So Danielle had her hand up, and then Alicia.
Well, I actually think that you said you were going to touch on the next steps in regards to the NACA program. I had questions in regards to MRF and, of course, monthly rental verification. But I'll let you get there because I know you said that's where you were moving to.
Yeah, that's all the stuff that's going to come up now. It's the nitty gritty stuff. And then Leisha, you had a more.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, like, so if you have a voucher in the city, do you have to buy in the city?
Again, the short answer to that question, from my understanding, is no. You would probably have to kind of do your own research and kind of find out. Like, I'm living in Howard County, and I know when I was looking at that information, I do know because I like to read. Everywhere has an admin plan. So Google HABC admin plan, go to the homeownership section and read it. But I know when I was looking at Howard counties, they was like, that they do, like, for example, Howard County will allow people with their homeownership voucher to buy in a neighboring district as long as that neighboring district has a homeownership program themselves. So if I was a guessing person, I would hope and assume it's the same way regionally, that you could be able to take your Baltimore City voucher, homeownership voucher, and go to a neighboring district as long as that neighboring district has a homeownership program. But again, that's something that you're probably going to have to Google HABC admin plan, pull it up, go to the table of contents, go to the homeownership, and just verify that that's the case. Because I know that's the case of Howard County, and I'm not sure if it's the case with Baltimore City though.
It is. You have to stay in the city.
Okay, so it's not then. So Baltimore City, you have to stay in the city if you get that voucher.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then here we go with the porting again, right? So see if that's a loophole. See if you could port. If you don't want to buy in the city, see if that's the option. Like, would they have the option to port out if they want to buy, like, say, Baltimore County and then go through Baltimore County program?
No. So you have to, if you join the homeownership program in Baltimore City, and
You have to finish in the city.
you have to finish it there.
Okay, so it sounds like the loophole, what I just heard is don't join in the city if you still in a rental voucher.
Yep.
Listen, that's my answer. When people tell me stuff, I'm like, okay, so what you're saying is I'm always looking for loopholes. Okay, so basically what she's saying is she's not on record. Okay, what she's saying is keep your rental voucher, port to wherever the county you want to go to, and do the program there. That's what she's saying. That's what I got from that. All right. So Danielle and Andre, you guys had your hands up. Is that still up from earlier, or you got new questions? Oops.
I got a new question.
Go ahead.
I just didn't put mine down. I'm sorry.
Can you go back to the screen you was at before?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. I was clicking. I didn't even touch on none of this. I hadn't even started talking about this yet.
I know I'm about to have you touch on the no down payment. I want you to explain the no down payment. I get the no closing. You said that Bomb says lender pays all closing. Explain the no points. Basically, explain, one by one.
I'm gonna go through that now.
Yeah, one by one.
Yep. So, and I think when I go to
I'm taking my hand down.
Follow down. Yeah, take it. All right. So let's move along, guys, because it's 7. Not that I'm rushing y'all, but I'm saying 7:55. And I'm gonna respect people's time. All right, let me minimize. I'm minimizing this, so I might don't see your hands again. Okay. So let's get to the nitty-gritty stuff. So what do they mean by, like, no down payment? So to your question, no down payment. So you know how, like, you have other other banks, they may say, you gotta put 3%. It's not like
20% down.
Questionable, or it's mandatory. You 3% down, 5% down, whatever. With NACA, there's no mandatory down payment. If you want to put a down payment, that's optional to you. Okay.
Would that help you? Would that help your rate? Your monthly rate?
So yeah, well, anytime you're putting down a down payment or paying on your interest rate, it's going to help down your monthly payment. But again, NACA does have a calculator, and I'll send you a link to the NACA calculator as well. You could play around with the numbers and
Yeah, that's what I want. A calculator.
Yeah, and you make sense of what makes the most sense, because I can't sit here and do math with you. I hate math.
Right.
You gotta do the math to say,
Go ahead.
does it make sense to put down a down payment? Does it make sense to put down an interest point? You pay down your points. And I kind of already touched on this on a high level, right? I kind of already said, like, hey, if you know you're not going to stand out, and NACA going to tell you this too, once you go and do their official workshop to get credit, they're going to tell you, like, if you don't plan on staying in this house for longer than 5 years, do not buy down your interest rate. It's just going to be a waste of money, right? They're going to tell you to put down the down payment, right? But what I can tell you is, when you're playing with the calculator, you're going to see the most bang for your buck if you're putting that money down on those points versus a down payment. It's just, again, going to depend on how long you want to stay in that house. What are your goals for the house? If you know, hey, this is just my starter home, in 5 years I want to rent this house and go do something else, it might don't make sense for you to pay down those payments unless you're going to rent it out for the next 30 years, you know what I mean? But like I say, even then you would have to refinance out of that NACA mortgage, because you can't rent a home with the NACA product.
Right.
So,
can I say something to help everybody understand a little bit better? Because I think I'm understanding what you're saying, but I think if I say it this way, everyone will understand it. If basically what I got from that is, as far as the points or paying something down and get your monthly payment down, like you said, getting more bang for your buck is really going to be based off of your monthly income, your debt to profit ratio, and it's going to basically, if you're going like you want cheap payments and don't want to pay nothing down, you basically, who don't want to go into a house no down payment? But I think that would make more sense if they're buying a house $50K and under. In that sense, you see what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
Versus trying to get a house for $200,000, trying to flex on your friends, and now you're basically working to pay bills and you're basically house poor. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that's a good thing with NACA, because NACA is really not going to let you be house poor, because they're all in your business. And I'm going to touch on that in a second too, of how much, because NACA do want more documentation than the traditional lender. But just for the sake of time, I want to just kind of speed along. But yeah, like, you know, Andre made a good point. It's really going to depend. Like, you have to sit and look at your finances. Like, NACA has a ton of resources on the website. Play with the calculator, you know, kind of figure out, once you get to that point, is it going to make more sense for you to buy down your interest rate or put down a down payment? And again, a lot of people, especially with these times, I guess the benefit of NACA is that they don't require a down payment. So you don't have to worry about trying to get.
But wouldn't that force you into a crack house? That's what I'm saying.
No, it's not going to force you into a crack house, because, okay, so you're confusing down payment. So again, I want to stay on message. That's not going to force you into a crack. If you don't put down a down payment, that's not going to force you to a crack house, right? Because again, you can get, your house is still going to be based off your debt to income ratio. So you're automatically assuming that they don't have enough income or too much debt to even be able to afford a nice house anyway. And that's not the case. It just may be, maybe they have good income and they have little debt. However, if they choose to put down a down payment, that's just going to bring down their monthly payment more, so they could afford more. But it doesn't mean that coming in, like, if you don't put down no down payment or don't buy any points, you're going to be in the hood.
Can
That's the case. So
I explain my situation?
Yeah,
so he could understand?
Yes.
Okay, so I bought my rate down. So my house was $265,000. However, my affordability, NACA said I cannot afford a $265,000 house. However, I wanted that house. So NACA said, if you want this house, you need $17,000 to buy your rate down to get you more affordability. My mortgage amount never changed, which is $1,200.
Right.
But I wanted this particular house, so it cost me $17,000.
She sound like me.
She sound like me.
She sound like me.
So now my mortgage didn't change. So you have the option to buy your rate down to get a more house, or you can buy your rate down to get a cheaper mortgage, but you want that same house. Those are the two options. So that's how it works. You don't have to go to the hood. So if you found a house right now and say the mortgage $1,500, but you only could afford $1,200, you need to buy your rate down to offset that $300 difference. Do that make sense?
So Tiffany, so that we can have kind of a And I'm sorry, I apologize for cutting you off. So that we can have kind of a snapshot of what you're looking at. So what did they exactly say your affordability was?
So my affordability actually was like 230 something, but I really wanted this house. I did not budge. I really wanted this house. So in order to get, they said I need to pay off my student loans or my car. However, I just bought my car and I'm not paying off my student loan. That's not an option. So my only option was $17,000. However, I didn't use the whole I didn't come out of pocket. I had a really good realtor. He got the builders to give me $7,000 and he got me $5,500 from my city. I came out of pocket the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I'm a number.
So I only came out of pocket roughly like $5,000 something, and I saved my income tax. And when they were giving out the stimulus check, I saved it. That's what I used. So
did you use any like housing programs to help you, or just?
Oh yeah, I'm on Section 8.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm glad you explained your whole situation, but I'm trying to go about it not on Section 8. You see what I'm saying? But I'm glad.
Whether you're on Section 8 or not, it's still
whether you're on Section 8 or not, it still applies the same. I could have bought without it. And my mortgage still would have been $1,200. But housing said they'll help me, so I took the help.
Right. So when you buy a house, Section 8 still paying your mortgage?
Yes.
For 15 years.
For 15 years.
Oh, okay.
It works just like,
So what they do is on the first of every month, they deposit $900 in my account. I have to pay my own mortgage.
Yeah. So
wow.
That's
I was gonna buy without. So I was gonna do it without it. But my caseworker said, well, since you pay since I pay a lot of money in childcare, like $1,500 a month in childcare, which still prompt me to be able to get assistance because I pay so much in childcare.
Right, because it offsets your income. Right, I get it.
And that's another thing too. And we was talking about this. I didn't mean to cut you off, Andre, but for like that's the whole purpose. I'm like, listen, let's figure out for people who have vouchers how y'all can use these vouchers and help getting get the system.
Because I went down there to tell them I'm no longer going to use it. I went down there telling them, hey, I'm about to buy a house. I no longer need assistance. They put up my check stubs, pulled up my proof of daycare. They said, well, no, you still qualify. You don't have to get off of it, and we'll help you pay for 15 years. I said, well, where I need to sign that?
Right.
Sign on the paper, honey. I sign on the dotted line. I don't feel no type of way. I ain't embarrassed or nothing. And I pay $300
I put a Section 8 sign right above my house.
I pay
$240,000 Section 8 house. Hell yeah.
Well, I have a 5-bedroom, 4-bath, 3-car garage, and a media room.
Damn.
And I posted it in. I have a Section 8 group. I posted it, and it was a brand new bill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that like I said, that's why I wanted Tiffany to get on the call because
what kind of area is it?
She's the first.
I stay in a gated community, honey.
Oh no, I wanted to make sure it was what I thought it was.
Yeah, but you down in Georgia.
I live in Georgia. But I live in Georgia.
Yeah, I can tell because your accent, but I'm not. No, I just wanted to make sure that $240,000 house match the area it should be in. That's all.
Yes, and now that house now is $415,000 because the market's so bad. My house now worth $415,000.
Hey, when you get a chance, look into a 1031 exchange and a 121 exclusion.
Okay, I will.
And before you do the 121 exclusion, get married first. No matter what kind of agreement you got put together, just get married first.
Well, we about to get married in a minute anyway, so I'm gonna look into that.
121 exclusion and 1031 exchange. Look into that because you already got your house.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, guys. So look, let me finish moving along because I want to respect people's time because it's already after 8. Did anyone have any other questions before I moved along about the no down payment, the closing cost points? So again, let me just touch on credits really quick. So with NACA, there's no minimum credit score. However, they still do look at your credit report. So do not confuse the two. A lot of people are just like, oh, I thought NACA didn't go by credit. They don't go by your credit score, but they do go by your credit report. And I'm going in here in this slide deck, it's going to touch on it. And once it gets to there, but I just wanted to kind of point that out. Like, for example, you can't have like no late payments or charge-offs or collection accounts like within like a 12-month period. So if you do have that, then that's probably going to be something that's going to hold you up unless you can get that off your report prior to your counseling appointment. Okay.
You have to clean your credit before you even apply NACA.
If you have late payments, and the same thing with your rental history. So, and that's where I said I'm ready to start going through a lot of the stuff. So like NACA is all about on-time payments. They're going to track your rental history for 12 months, your bank statements, like they're literally kind of all in your business. But at the same time, it's like they're in your business, but they're in your business because they want you to succeed in the mortgage. They don't want you to foreclose and all that stuff. So what I've learned is that for people, even if they don't go through NACA or close with NACA, by the time they're done, honey, their finances is in check, their bank account is in check, the checkbook is in check, like everything is in check, because literally all the things that you've done, by the time you've done everything and you're making sure you do everything you're supposed to do just to make sure you don't mess up with NACA, even though they steady not looking at your credit score, by the time you're done, a lot of people in the group credit score be already over 700 and they just go with a traditional lender anyway. So it definitely still helps you out. We kind of touched on the processing fees. I want to kind of skip ahead to with the other, which you guys were asking about the actual qualifications. Okay, I already told you guys you had to be owner occupancy, right? You cannot rent the house out. Let me see. Let me skip to that slide.
Did that say you had to register to vote?
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I was good. So it's not for investors. You do have to register to vote with NACA because again, that's how this program started. A group of, they want you to be prepared, right? And most of the people in this call should be registered to vote. If you're not registered to vote or you have a religious objection to registering to vote, you're probably not going to get NACA, or you want to have to write a letter explanation explaining why you're not registered to vote. They also do require, I'm gonna put in parentheses if you could see me, volunteer participation. Volunteer participation can be sharing one of their Facebook posts or something. Volunteer doesn't mean you have to go out and actually physically have to volunteer in a community, but they do kind of require these things while you're kind of going through the NACA process. Now, the judge and jury is still out on whether or not they track this stuff once you close. I had a cousin that closed like 10 years ago with NACA, and they ain't never contact her. She still got the NACA mortgage. I have talked to other people that say like, yeah, they still reach out to me to still volunteer and to still do all my other different stuff. But for the most part, you just want to make sure you're participating in your activities and doing what you're supposed to do while you're still trying to qualify for the mortgage. And again, that's something that you'll can talk about with your housing counselor once you're assigned to one. It's not that big of a deal. Like registering to vote is the smallest of the.
Okay, quick question. Can I apply for NACA online, or do I have to go down there personally?
We'll talk about all that in a second. So let's just hold our questions to the end for a second. I'm trying to find. And if I can't find it on here, I'm going to pull it up on. So this is talking about the workshop, the budgeting, and I touched on your paying your rent on time and applying for NACA. I'm going to give you guys the link, but you can apply online. You can't walk in there to the public. You have to register for the Achieve the Dream event and stuff online. The whole thing is online, with the exception of the Achieve the Dream event, which is going to be in person. But other than that, if they wasn't having this event, you would be applying online. Once you apply online and you attend that workshop, which is also online, you would get a NACA portal and all of that stuff. And again, like I said, I'm going to go over all of that. I'm going to show you what the NACA portal looks like and all of that. Okay, so this is one thing we didn't really touch on too. Tiffany kind of touched on a little bit, but again, just kind of determining your affordability when it comes to NACA. I kind of touched on they want to really keep you guys at 31% of your gross monthly income. So again, you want to be, so this is really ready to start touching on your payment shock, right? And I know people probably what the heck is a payment shock? So I'm going to touch on that in a second. But NACA is really big with paying your rent on time, right? They're going to be looking at your bank statements. They don't want to see that you're depleting your savings each month on your bank statements. They also don't want to see that you have increasing debts as well, whether that be on your bank statements or on your credit report, right? So just real quick, I'm going to give an example of payment shock, right? So you can see here, like they want you, so let's just say you have an appointment coming up, let's just say September, right? This is saying, okay, they want to see that you have your payment shock saved for 3 months. That's just the initial minimum. Once you have that initial counseling appointment though, you have to save that payment shock. You have to save that all the way up until you close. It has to constantly be saved. So for example, let's just say your rent is, let's use Tiffany's example for rent, like her rent is, let's say, no, I'm gonna say, let's say your rent is $1,200, right? Your current rent is $1,200, but you want a mortgage that's $1,500. So what NACA is going to tell you is that, okay, you have to show us that you can afford this $1,500 mortgage. So we want you to save $300 as your payment shock. In addition to that, we want you to save another minimum of $200, right? As your surplus, is what they call it, for emergencies and things that may happen altogether. So altogether, they're going to be asking you to save an additional $500 for a minimum of 3 months prior to your intake appointment. And then after your intake appointment, you have to keep saving that. Where people mess up is they don't read the fine print in that qualification book, right? Because in the book, you know, I think people skip over the $200 surplus. And I'm gonna pull up that page on my screen because I already have the workbook up. But when people say like, oh, I didn't qualify intake, they said I wasn't saving my surplus for us, they were forgetting about that additional $200. They may have had been saving at $300, but they was forgetting about the $200. Okay. And again, they're in your business. So you also can't, like, people was like doing stuff like, you know, like moving money around from like different accounts and all that. Like, no, that's not saving, because all you're doing is transferring money from one account to another. Like, but if you have a set savings account, you know, and a set checkings account, and you're taking that money out each month from your checking and moving into your savings, and each month that savings should be increasing and not decreasing by the amount that NACA tells you, then you have met your payment shock for that month, right? But if they look at it and it's decreasing and you haven't been saving that minimum amount, you're basically going to be starting that 3 months all over again. Okay. And I know that was probably a lot to take in. I see Danielle put a reaction. So,
yeah, because I definitely missed that surplus in my workbook. I definitely did.
Yes. So the surplus is, and I'm going to touch on it too. So let me just. Now, did you talk to your counselor already? Like, have you, like, how far are you in the process?
So, you know, that's you and I met in the post today because I was rescheduled at the last, yes.
Okay.
So I was rescheduled at the last minute, but thankfully, because I put that post up, I got someone come in, scoop me up, and I got a new counselor as of today that is going to take me this week.
Awesome. But here's the thing too, because when I talk to a lot of other people, they would tell me like, oh, my counselor didn't tell me about a surplus. If you are, and the reason why those people didn't get told about the surplus, if you already have a patterns of saving, like some people, they just ball and they've been on it. They automatically save, you know, 12, 13, 15. So if you already saving way above the required amount, it may be that that counselor didn't necessarily mention that particular thing to you. You know what I mean? But you definitely want to have whatever that payment is in the surplus. And I'm going to find it. I should have put Tiffany on the spot. Like, Tiffany, look for the, and I wish I could do, what let me do? Hold up, because this is in the way. Because I want to see. So here's your monthly budget, and it's talking about your savings. I'm going to find it. I should have had this up because I like that. Yeah, but I just was going to give you guys the link and tell y'all to look at it. Just for the sake of time. Oh, look, they had this one month. Can y'all see this one I'm looking at as well? Y'all can see this, right? I'm going to give you guys the link. Now, let's just say hypothetically, if you wasn't saving it, don't count yourself out altogether. Because like I said, with COVID, there have been, from what I could see from the group, there have been I feel like it would have been up here. I'm gonna have to come back and look. They're being like a little bit more flexible with some things. But I said, because I've heard some people say that counselors never told them about a surplus. But then I also don't want you to be one of those people that get all the way to underwriting and then they're looking, because the underwriters, when you get to Bank of America and stuff like that too, and you don't have, you know, that last final check, and then you messed up something and you come in a group and cussing everybody out because your counselor sucked. So, all right, so that's just kind of how that works. So and again, I also put out one thing too with this. If I'm currently paying $1,200, but I want a $1,500 mortgage, you also just want to also think like, because I think sometimes people just automatically think, oh, well, I've been able to pay this. I've been paying this all along. You know, how come I get approved for this? Just because you're paying it now, that doesn't mean that you're going to get approved for it, right? Because most Americans are already paying over 31% of their income in their housing costs anyway, just because the cost of living is so high. You don't know how many times, and if you're in a group, you probably can attest to it too, how many times we see posts in the group of, oh, you know, I'm paying this and I can't believe NACA approved me for this. And I'm like, well, that's because that's what you can afford on paper. So that's also going to be a real line. So once you guys get to that appointment, if that's your case where, you know, you may already be paying over 31%, don't be taken aback if NACA kind of reduces your affordability and saying, hey, I know you're paying $1,500 right now in rent, but with every, you know, with your gross income and your debts, we're only going to approve you for a max of $1,200 a month. Don't be taken aback by that. Okay. And they talk about the mortgage amounts. Okay, so let's touch on priority member and non-priority member. So just again, high level overview. So while NACA doesn't have income requirements, right? Like an income cutoff or something of that nature, they do put people into categories of priority member and non-priority member, right? So you can see the definition here. A priority member who has a household income is equal or less than 100% of the metropolitan area, right? And then for a non-priority member is who household income is greater than the metropolitan area for the median family income. Okay, so once you meet with your counselor, depending on which one of these you fall in, it's going to dictate your interest rate. Because now what they're doing is non-priority members do come in at a higher interest rate than priority members. And it may also dictate where you can buy if you are a non-priority member. Because again, if you go on NACA's website, the overarching mission or goal of NACA is to kind of diversify communities, right? So if you're already a six-figure earner, they may or may not approve you to go into another six-figure earning, you know, community, right? Because that's not diversifying the community. And if you do go, if they allow you to go there, they'll probably allow you to go there, but you're not going to get that prime NACA interest rate, if that makes sense. You're going to get like the non-priority member rate. And again, like once you meet with your counselor and they go over this stuff, like you guys will understand. For the most part, a lot of people end up, I mean, that I have referred to them, has ended up being priority. It's only one person who ended up being non-priority, and they still made out good. So that was the person who I said got her Durgon rate down on 1.67. So she's fine. She's not complaining. And this is your assessments. And I still feel like I'm going to go to the workbook because I feel like these slides do not go. This is how much your mortgage amount. Okay, here we go. I'm saying, where's the qualification things? Okay, so here we go. Requirements, W-2 income, 2 years of employment history, 1 solid year of employment income. We kind of touched on that a little bit already. Again, you can have a gap. From my understanding from what the workbook says, the gap just cannot be longer than 30 days. If it is, you got to have a good explanation for that to try to get them to overlook that. If you are changing employers and employers are within the same industry, then you're still good. You're still fine, right? Other income. Okay, so here's another good one. So for people that ask, when they saying other income, they're talking about people who may get SSI, alimony, a nice hefty amount of child support, things of that nature. You can only have those unearned incomes as income and still buy a house with NACA. NACA will still allow you to buy a house, right? But you just see that second bullet point is real important. In order for them to allow you to use that income, you have to have documentation verifying that it's currently being received and will last at least 5 years going forward, okay? If that's for unearned income. Self-employed, I touched on this a little bit already. You know, again, 2 years filing taxes, 2 years same industry, 3 months of reserve, cash flow, 12 months of bank statements. Any questions on the income part of qualification, guys? No? Okay.
I do have a quick question about income. So of course, the more members that you have in your household or on your actual case with NACA, the better the income itself. So, so how do they go along with if it's an adult dependent? Like, will they allow that person on there as well?
So that's up to you. Me personally, my friends and everyone who I know, when they didn't put their kids on there, right? Because in order from my understanding, and Tiffany can probably touch on this too, if you put them on there, you want their income counted, then that debts also will count. And I believe they have to go on like the mortgage loan and stuff as well. And if you have like adult dependent,
that's correct.
Yeah, like we're not putting out.
They want their credit.
Yeah, like I'm not doing all that. So again, it's to each their own. Like if you feel like you need the kids' income to kind of boost you up, then everything that you're doing, they're going to be treated just as like a secondary of you. You wouldn't have to do everything for them as well, with the bank statements, the budgeting, how Tiffany just said they're going to run that credit. If they have debts as well, like a car payment, stuff that's on that credit report, that's going to be factored into your DTI as well. So you're just going to have to, kind of just make, your personal family decision of what makes sense, right? When you talk to your counselor.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just going to depend. For some people, it makes sense. I have people who may be married or half married or whatever, and they was like, should I put my spouse in there? Should I don't? And you just got to weigh your pros and cons. Like, is it going to make sense to put your spouse on there or not, right? Because with NACA, they do give you the option. And from my understanding is, Tiffany, what is it with if you're married? I think they said, they don't necessarily have to go on the loan, but they have to be like a household member.
They don't have to go on, they have to be a household member, but they have to show proof that they could pay their own bills with their own income, or it account against your DTI as well.
Okay, that's what it is. Yep. Okay, for the folks that's married. So what she was saying is, like, if you had a spouse, a legal spouse, if you didn't want them on a loan, household member, and that household member has to have their own income to cover their own debts. And by debts, they're referring to stuff that's reporting on that credit report. If they don't have enough income to cover their DTI, then their DTI gets calculated into your DTI. So, and I'm going to probably venture out to say that's probably similar to how they would probably calculate adult dependents too, but I wouldn't put the kids on there though. That's just me, but it's like I said, it's going to depend on your situation.
Yeah, I definitely didn't put her on there. I was just curious of, would they even ask about it, but I definitely wouldn't put her on there because we this a long road to getting her credit where I wanted to get it at, even at 21.
Okay.
Okay, one quick question though about that same thing. So basically, if you don't add an adult dependent, let's say a child that's 20, 21, do you have to still tell them they're going to be living there?
Are you trying to get me on video?
Don't tell them.
Okay, I get it. Nope, keep going. Carry on.
All right.
I get it. I get it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, sometimes people open up stuff that they shouldn't even let be known. Just keep it quiet.
Keep it quiet.
Keep it quiet.
Tiffany has spoken. All right. So other requirements, I kind of touched on debts a little bit, and I moved the box down so I could see this, guys. I'm like moving you guys all around. Okay, so I talked about, your debts, right? Definitely, so it's actually 24 months. Okay, so there's 24 months. So no collections, recent collection payments within 24 months. If you do, they have to be paid off or settled or on an approved payment plan. No recent late payments. Obviously, your current debts need to be on time, right? That just makes sense. Any liens adjustments need to be satisfied. They basically just want your stuff to be satisfied. Like no, ton of unpaid collections, charge-offs. Like I said, definitely no late payments. And that also goes with your rent as well. So definitely make sure you following up with your lease agreement if you know you're trying to qualify soon or within the next 12 months. Just make sure you're definitely paying your rent on time and make sure you're tracking that. So whether you're paying it through your bank account, you're paying it through a portal, you're paying it through a canceled check, so you can have like the copies or whatever, because NACA is going to ask proof of that. So any event that you have a petty landlord, because I have seen that as well with landlords, especially private landlords, where they refuse for whatever godforsaken reason to fill out the verification of rent form. If you have documentation proof, either from a bank account, canceled checks, receipts from an online portal, whatever, if you have proof of the 12-month payments, your counselor should be able to take those. And if you get to a counselor and they tell you no, they can't take those, go over top their head and talk to the supervisor, or go into the NACA Facebook group and ask for a supervisor, because they absolutely can take your bank statements and stuff if everything matches up with your lease to show those payments, if you have a landlord that's refusing to sign that verification of rent form, because that verification of rent form is going to be required to get you to qualification. Okay. Okay, so here's the things that you do have to pay, right? So we have talked about all this, no down payment, no closing costs. So here's the fine print. And I think Andre touched on the memory required funds. This is where me personally, I'm just like, NACA, it's a little bit of misleading, because like when you come out and you tell people, oh, it's no down payment. You don't got it. People in their mind, they think they literally can get a house with NACA with literally nothing out of pocket, and that's not the case, right? As I said, you do have your earnest money. You do have to pay for inspection, right? When it comes to property taxes and insurance, this is what happened to my good friend, and she actually bought in Baltimore City. And if you're from here, we know our Baltimore City property taxes is crazy. So she literally found out like, here's the back thing too. Her house was a vacant, and they renovated it. So because the house was a vacant, the city did not know what to estimate the property as, the taxes or whatever the case may be. So NACA just made a guess. They was like, well, we're going to overestimate than underestimate, because we don't want you to lose the house. But what they did, because they overestimated her taxes, what they really should be telling people is that she has to come out of pocket a whole year of taxes and homeowners insurance. And that was like a good $5,000-$6,000 on top of what she already had to bring. So that was a shock to her. Luckily, she had the money, but NACA do require you to prepay taxes, and they do require you to prepay your homeowners insurance. Okay, so that's something you're going to have to pay as well, in addition to your inspection fee and your earnest money. Okay, so definitely plan for that. Now, if you were like her and they overestimate your taxes and you actually overpay your taxes, and then you'll get a big fat check back the next year from the title company, because that's what happened to her. She ended up getting a lot of that money back because the city just was crap and they didn't know what the taxes were for the house for whatever reason, which didn't make sense. Any questions on that part? No. Okay. Okay, we kind of touched on this already. That was the slide up there. About the stable income. Again, when they keep talking about you have to do participation, talk to your counselor about that. It could be just going on your Facebook page and saying NACA is great and screenshotting it and send it to them. It doesn't matter. Number 3, again, on-time payments for the last 12 months. Documented rental payments for the last 12 months. no unpaid liens or judgments without a payment plan, and then you must have your minimum required funds. So minimum required funds. So I can't tell you that. Your counselor is going to tell you what your minimum required funds are, and your minimum required funds is going to depend on this, right? This is, and these numbers here, the escrow, the property tax, that is going to depend on your property that you selected, right? So how it normally works is like if you tell your counselor, hey, I want to buy in Baltimore, so I want to buy in Baltimore County, taxes is citywide, taxes is countywide. So they're going to take the countywide tax rate, your homeowner's insurance rate based off of your affordability, and they're going to say, hey, based off of where you telling us you want to buy, this is your estimated, is the word, your estimated minimum required funds that you have to bring with you at closing to cover all your closing costs, right? You know, they're not calling it closing costs. I'm gonna say it's closing costs. Okay, so that's what this is. So minimum though required, they say in the workbook is 2,500, right? For some people I've seen in the NACA Facebook group, 2,500 was enough. They actually, some people needed less than 2,500, but the vast majority, especially in this market, especially in Maryland, plan to bring more than 2,500. And again, if you're already saving your payment shock and stuff, just the FYI, that payment shock and stuff that you're saving in your savings account with your 401k, whatever it is you're saving it in, that can be used towards your minimum required funds. Okay, so can your tax returns. Your tax returns, any lump sum of money can be used for your minimum required funds, but it can't be used for your payment shock. Okay, and by payment shock, and the reason why, so you guys remember from like a little while ago, I said the payment shock was the monthly savings, right? If you have to, if they say, hey, you got to save 300 plus 200, that's the monthly savings. So you can't use lump sum money for your payment shock because they want to see that you can actually save, but you can use your lump sum savings for your minimum required funds. So most people, for the most part, have the minimum required funds when they go for whatever reason, like I said, through taxes or whatever the case may be, their tax refund, but a lot of people are just sticker shock once they, you know, that they have to pay a year taxes up front and homeowners insurance up front. And depending on where you live, that can be really high if you're in a high tax state like we are. Okay, so other people's asking about appointments. So you guys, I said, I'll send you the link and stuff, guys. I'm sending you guys everything in the email, but you can make an appointment. I highly recommend, she lucked up. I think Danielle lucked up and she went and complained in a group, got her appointment this week. You go, girl. But for everybody else, like I said, the NACA is having Achieve the Dream events on September. So the week of September 8th, right? They're going to be here a whole week at the Baltimore Convention Center. If you go on NACA's website, you will see, I just came up to, if you go on NACA's website and you go to, I'm sure how I got here. You just go to upcoming events, scroll down here, that'll bring you here. And you just fill out this information, hit continue, and keep going and going and going until you get your NACA ID. And then you'll be able to come in here to your portal and start uploading all your stuff to start practicing. I said start practicing, not practicing, y'all. Start preparing is the better word for your event. And that's how you can do it, okay? Like I said, everything is really here, is super friendly. A lot of the stuff that I pulled, you guys can see here, I got from the purchase resources, right? So they have a daily expense diary. I love this budget worksheet. I was playing with this myself. I like this because see, you could type right into it. I like that. This is really going to help you too if you start looking at your bank statements, and that is all in your business. So you'll probably like that. But yeah, literally everything that I'm just like going over today, you'll find all here, right? The qualification workbook, the purchase workbook is for when you already qualified. That is there. Here's the people who have a housing voucher who may be interested in using a voucher with NACA. That's here. And then a whole bunch of other stuff. We want to do a rehab, like really everything is here. So it's really user friendly for you guys to be able to find the stuff. There is a membership. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was trying to jump in real quick. I put the Achieve the Dream link in the chat also.
Thank you. Come on, Danielle.
You just know that when I went on there today, it was only Sunday and Monday left, the 11th and the 12th only. So that means the other days are probably completely booked up. So I would run to it if someone want to attend. You can get ready by September.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, not that I'm encouraging this, but let me go back to my good friend who qualified. Y'all know she lucky though, because she didn't qualify when it was in Baltimore, and she had to drive. She's from New York, so it didn't matter. So she didn't have her files together when it was in Baltimore. She got kind of ran around. She had to run and get a bunch of stuff together. She drove to the next city over and went to the next one and got qualified at that one. So that's the option too. Like let's say worst case scenario, you don't get qualified at this one, but it's another one that's coming close, that's within driving distance. You can still go to that one. Even if you have to fly there, if you're really that damn determined, you can go there because you can get qualified in any state and it's still going to translate back to the state that you're trying to buy in. So that's kind of good to know for those, just in case, if it doesn't work out for you by that time. All right, so membership fee. So they do charge a membership fee. I want to just talk about the money part. So the membership fee, and I don't know how accurate this is because I feel like the membership fee went up, but this is still staying $25. I feel like it went up a little bit more than that, but they do have a membership fee. And in addition to the membership fee, you also have to pay for a credit report from them through their preferred person, because they have their own thing that they look at. And I think the credit report fee is $35, if I'm not mistaken. And you have to pay that annually, okay? And then you have to upload your bank statements, your tax returns. Candace, touching on your income again. Upload everything. They kind of like social services. I used to tell people, and I'd be like, "Hey, this like you trying to apply for food stamps, all the stuff they want you to upload." Again, talking about the documents for your intake. You see how they keep emphasizing rental payments, deposits on each bank statement, right? That's important. You'd be surprised how many people still paying landlords in cash and Cash App. Cash App not gonna give you a bank statement. Stop doing that. Tell them they need to Zelle, go to the bank, get a cashier's check, pay online with your bank card, as long as it can be sourced back to your bank account. Worst case scenario, if their landlord does not do that, that verification of rent, you're still covered, right? Yes, it's gonna talk about explain any documents and any one-time fees.
Hello, can I jump in real quick?
Yes.
But doesn't Cash App give receipts, and you can put when it says what for, when you put rent right there and everything?
You don't want to do Cash App. Listen, Cash App, especially if you're sending money from your Cash App, you don't want to do Cash App. You don't want to do like pay any, just stay away. You'll see that once you like Cash App just cause a whole lot of different issues. And I don't know if they're going to want to see receipts, and by receipts, if you're referring to, I don't know, like a screenshot or something.
No. Cash App actually give like actual web receipts that's timestamped and everything.
Yeah.
Kind of like a merchant ID.
So I know what you're talking about. If that's what you're paying, but personally, I don't know any lender that's accepting Cash App web receipts. Now, again, times are changing. But I would just say to save yourself some headache, get it on a bank statement. If the landlord doesn't have like, say, the landlord is preferring cash, then it may just be worth your while to go and get a cashier's check and just pay them that way. Because again, you want it to be like source. You wanted to be able to change it. At least if you have a cashier's check and stuff, or you're selling them, you have the actual name. But again, like I said, to each their own. Talk to your counselor and see if they would accept a Cash App web receipt.
Well, what about what you said earlier about cancel checks? Couldn't you just write a cancel check for rent but still Cash App them in the background and use the cancel check as the verification?
Again, that's a question. I'm trying to give you guys broad overview, answers, right? Because I see what you're doing. You like, well, what about if I just do this?
No, because earlier you mentioned cancel
checks, right? So I mean, I guess you could, or you could just cash at them and have them give you like an actual like receipt book. See, like the old back in the school day. I mean,
I got web receipts and all that and everything.
Yeah. So I mean, that's up to you. But again, that's a good question that you want to ask. Ask your.
I just wanted to help everybody understand while I'm helping myself understand. That's all.
Yeah, that's fine. And I also just want people to just, like I said, just be mindful that like talk to your counselor. Because most lenders
some people
don't want to accept that.
Because some people might already be in their 12 months of their 24 month of on-time payments. They probably already been paying through Cash App.
Well, here's the thing. Well, if NACA doesn't accept Cash App payments, which I'm just going to verse out and just say, to my knowledge, they don't. Then you would just be in that situation where you have to get the verification of rent form, and that form is not online. That's something that has to be sent directly to your landlord from your NACA counselor. So if you don't have it sourced like through your bank account or official credit card statement, they could officially source it, then you would just have to be on the hook for that PDF for them to fill out the verification form, and hopefully your landlord will fill it out. So if you're already someone that's in that 12 months, you've been paying via Cash App or Zelle with some other kind of unofficial means, then you would just have to get the verification of rent form. That's all.
But I'm pretty sure Cash App give out individual separate web receipts that are separate from the actual, like if you open your app.
And I use Cash App every day, and I hear what you're saying, but I'm just saying from a lender perspective, I don't think they accept Cash App payments though. So that's what I'm saying. Just confirm that, whether it's with NACA or another lender, to confirm if they can actually use your actual, the web receipts from Cash App. Because from my understanding, they don't want to see Cash App on your stuff at all. And Tiffany can probably attest to that. Like for every Cash App transaction, they were having people write a letter of reference and all this other type of stuff. So for me, it just makes more unnecessary.
Yes, you have to write a letter explanation.
Yeah.
Anytime you withdraw more than $100 after telling
it's just
somebody Zelle you or anything, you got to write a letter explanation.
Because the money
I wrote about 40.
She said she wrote about.
I'm exaggerating. It was about 20 though.
And then Megan chimed in. She's a realist. She said that's accurate. Okay, so I mean, again, I don't want to say people like I don't know. That's why I always tell people go and ask the people that you're dealing with, because each lender is going to be different. I just know Cash App is just a little bit iffy. It's not when it comes to something like this. It's not really necessarily official. All right, we're at 8:43, so I have like another 5 or 10 minutes, guys. So I'm gonna wrap this up because and I'm gonna send you guys a lot of I'm gonna try to send it to you tonight. If not tonight, definitely by tomorrow morning. I'm gonna send you guys all the links, as well as your free gift for signing in. Someone said I paid through Zelle. Well, your Zelle is through your bank account, so it still can be sourced, right? And don't worry about trying to source your rental payments. Like I said, worst case scenario, if you've been paying your rent through a means that NACA won't accept to verify on your own, they'll just send your landlord the verification of rent payment. That's all. And your landlord should just fill it out and send it back to them and you're good to go. It's not that big of a deal, guys. I was just putting that cautionary tale because every now and then I hear horror stories of landlords ghosting their tenants. Okay, so we talked about the self-employment, your W-2 income. Okay, so I said intake, everything right now is still virtual and stuff, guys. Like I said, unless you're going in person. And then like I kind of showed you guys your web file, and it's kind of what it looked like. And you see how detailed it is, right? All your information. You actually have to upload your voters registration card too, by the way. You see they got a box right there for it. All your income. And this is not just, by the way, when it comes to income, funds, debts, rental, any different miscellaneous stuff, don't just make the mistake of thinking, oh, I'm just going to upload this one time and I'm done. You have to keep uploading this stuff every month until you close. Please keep your file updated. So many people get hindered up or held up in the process because they just maybe uploaded just that one initial time and they wasn't continuing to upload their documents each month and their file wasn't updated. And so by the time they get to their appointment, either the appointment gets canceled or rescheduled, or now you got your counselor sitting there waiting for you to go and upload all this stuff that you should have been uploading the whole entire time anyway. Okay. Any questions on this stuff? No. Okay, and this is kind of what it looks like once you're actually in there, the file. Like I said, it's a little bit annoying too. Just FYI, once you upload something, you cannot delete it, and that's annoying to me.
Oh, so annoying.
Yeah, so only your counselor can delete stuff on there, and we cannot delete stuff as customers. Only they can do it. Okay. Again, this is an example of, you know, how to upload the stuff, your bank statements, participation again. Like I said, do not freak out about participation, because people be really freaking out like, so I gotta volunteer, and I'd be like, what? Hold on, guys. Okay, I'm at the library. Oh, they ready to kick me out. They said, all right, so, and I think that's pretty much, yeah, this is it for their thing. And I know a lot of, so Danielle and Tiffany have been really helpful at dropping stuff in the chat for me. While I'm on the call, I want to also drop in the link for the, this is the link for the NACA purchase book if you are a voucher holder and you want to, you know, use it for that. And she did the qualification book already. Do you guys have, let me give you guys the link as well, just in case I don't, because especially since she said it's only 1 or 2 days left. Here's also the link again for the Achieve the Dream event too, because I think Danielle put it in earlier. So definitely get in. Like I said, this webinar is recorded, so I'm going to try to upload this some kind of way, because we've been on the call for 2 hours now. So I'm going to try to upload and see what's the best way to email it to you guys, so you guys can kind of come revisit if it's something else you want to touch on or kind of get some more information. You guys will have my email, so if you have additional questions after this and you want to reach out and you have questions, please reach out to me. I'm very open and personable and would love to chat more about home ownership as well. You can also add me on Facebook too. You guys can add me on Facebook if you're not already my Facebook friend. I'm going to type my name in the chat. That's my Facebook name. All right. So I have about, I guess, 5 more minutes, right? So did anyone have any other last questions? Maybe for somebody who didn't talk all the call, like Lynette. We got Miss Sharnita. Any other questions, guys? No? I don't want to put anyone on the spot. Well, I want to thank you guys for joining in. I feel like this was really beneficial. Thank you to everyone for joining in and chiming in. Thank you, Andre, for dropping your knowledge and being the only male on the call. Oh, shout out to Andre. Okay.
You're welcome.
You know, like, yes, like, so are you NACA ready? Are you registering for the,
I was just trying to see the benefits. I was just trying to see the benefits of dealing with NACA or going through NACA program. The only thing that I really came to, and I just came to it, as you said, this was at a close, was they just pretty much help you out if you come from a bad credit situation. That's all.
I mean, yeah, that's one way to look at it, but don't be surprised though, because a lot of people who got good credit situations still take advantage of it, because not necessarily right now, because that rate is 4% now, but back in COVID, like they had the lowest rate, like NACA rate was like under 2%. So it was people with 750 credit scores coming to NACA. So
yeah, because they strategize to use it on in terms of, okay, I'm just going to buy down my interest rate to get down to pretty much zero. So yeah, in that sense, if I had an 800 credit score, if I wanted to eventually just wipe out my interest rate, of course I'll go that route.
Right.
That's paying off your house a whole lot faster.
Okay. Well, I really enjoyed this. So I want to start like doing webinars at least like once a month or so on different topics or different things. So I have all you guys' contact information. I'll definitely send you guys out, you know, if I do another one, it'll be obviously on a different topic and stuff. I really enjoyed it. And like I said, look for the email and I will send you guys your free gift via email by tomorrow. Okay.
Will your name and Facebook information be in the email?
Yep, it's gonna be in the email. And again, I'm typing it in the chat again, but I see you multitasking. But yep, I'll make sure my name and Facebook information is in the
Oh, I see it in the chat. I see it.
Yeah, okay. Yes, go in. And if you guys enjoyed it, like please tag me, say how how beneficial it was. Because I really want for the next one, like more people to actually, get the information, right? So if you guys enjoyed it, you found it helpful, definitely tell a friend next time and definitely tag me on Facebook. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay. Well, all right, guys, let me listen. It's 8:51. They are like standing here at the door trying to put me out the library. So let me leave. And I will, yes, I'll talk to you guys next time. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.